So, welcome to our Sunday Bhagavatam class to all the devotees here. Today, we'll be concluding chapter 3 of Canto 1. So, it's taken us a while to complete this chapter, but today, hopefully, we will complete the chapter. So, in this particular chapter, among the 6 questions that the sages of Naimisharanya have asked Suta Goswami, so Suta Goswami has begun answering those questions. And in this particular chapter, the main focus is that Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So the trajectory of this chapter started as follows, with Suta Goswami talking about the Purusha avatars, and we discovered that the Purusha avatars are the 3 different Vishnus, beginning with Karnodakshay Vishnu, who we normally refer to as Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu further expands as Garbhodakashay Vishnu. And then Garbhodakashay Vishnu further expands as Kshirodakashay Vishnu. It is this Kshirodakashay Vishnu that is referred to as Paramatma. Yes. So after many, many expansions, the Vishnus come, the Purusha avatars. And then the various incarnations of the Lord are spoken about right from Shloka 6 to Shloka number 29. Now, the Lord's incarnations are too many to enumerate, but the more well-known incarnations are what are spoken about. But later on in the Bhagavatam, as you go through the Bhagavatam, especially when you come to Canto 2, many more incarnations than what are mentioned here will actually be discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam in this conversation. And then the Virat Roop form of the Lord is discussed in Shlokas 30 to 34. And for those of you who attended the session, we understood that this Virat Roop form of the Lord is just a representative form. It is meant to help those who need something to envision for a purpose of worship. But the Virat Roop form is not real form, right? It is just a representative aspect of how different lokas are different parts of the limbs of the body of the Lord. But in reality, the Virat Rupa is not real. But it does help those who are seeking to worship the Lord to imagine this universe in the form of Virat Rupa. So that was what we looked at in Shlokas 30 to 34. And then in the last class that we did, which was Shlokas 35 to 39, Suta Goswami talks about the description of the Lord and how we can actually understand the Lord. So in today's session, Suta Goswami is actually going to answer the 6th question posed by the sages of Naimisharanya. So to recap and to remember what it was from the first chapter of the first canto, the first question asked by the sages is, what is the ultimate good for humanity? In the sense, if humanity had to focus on any one thing for the betterment of themselves and for the betterment of all of the citizens of that particular planet, then what's the best thing that they should do? It's a very nice question, actually. What is the ultimate good for us, and what is that activity that we should perform that is for our ultimate good? And the second question that the sages asked is, there are so many scriptures in Vedic culture. Definitely in Kali Yuga, we will not have time to explore all these scriptures and really understand the depth of the messages and the instructions for us. So the second question was, what is the essence of all of the Vedic scriptures? So in response to these 2 questions, the answer is the same. What is the ultimate good for humanity? Suta Goswami says, bhakti. What is the ultimate good, or what is the essence of all of the scriptures? The essence of all of scriptures is to come to the conclusion that bhakti is the best thing to perform. So the answers to the first 2 questions were the same, which is bhakti. what was the third question that the sages of Naimisharanya asked, which is, why did Lord Krishna occupy the womb of Mother Devaki and become the son of Vasudeva and Mother Devaki? What was the purpose? Why did the Lord himself occupy the womb of this particular cow? And the answer to this question was, the only reason that the Lord comes frequently, perhaps in different avatars and sometimes in his original form as Krishna himself, is primarily to attract the pure souls back to him. By performing his leelas, the Lord attracts the jivas. So that's the reason that was given as to why the Lord occupies the womb of Mother Devaki. And then, of course, performs his various pastimes. The fourth and fifth questions were, what are the Purusha avatars? And Sutta Goswami explains that in the end of chapter 2, and here again summarizes it in the beginning of chapter 3, which is that the Purusha avatars are the three Vishnus. And one more question that was asked is the Leela avatars. And the Leela avatars are covered in all these different incarnations that were mentioned, right? Like Lord Ramachandra, Lord Krishna, Lord Balaram, Parashuram, then of course Buddha and Kalki, which were predicted. So those were the Leela avatars. And the last question was, after Lord Krishna left to go back to the spiritual world, what happened to Dharma? Did it go with him? Or how was Dharma actually preserved? So that last question will actually get answered in the last 5 shlokas of this particular chapter. So we'll finish chapter 3 today. We have 5 shlokas to cover. So I'd request Harish Prabhu to kindly.
Yes, Mother.
So Prabhu, we'll practice it first. Yeah. So this is shloka number 40 of chapter 3, canto number 1. Idam Bhagavatam Nama.
Idam Bhagavatam Nama.
Puranam Brahma Sammitam.
Puranam Brahma Sammitam.
Uttama Shloka Charitam.
Uttama Shloka Charitam.
Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi.
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi.
Nishreyasaya Lokasya.
Nishreyasaya Lokasya.
Dhanyam Swastyayanam Mahat.
Dhanyam Swastyayanam Mahat.
Word for word meaning. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Idam.
This. Bhagavatam. Book containing the narration of the personality of Godhead and His pure devotees.
Book containing the narration of the personality of Godhead and His pure devotees.
Nama.
Of
the name.
Puranam.
Supplementary to the Vedas. Brahma Sammitam. Incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna. Uttama Shloka. The personality of Godhead. Charitam. Activities. Chakara. Compiled. Bhagavan. Incarnation of the personality of Godhead. Rishihi. Sri Vyasadeva. Nishreyasaya. For the ultimate good. Lokasya. For all people.
of all people.
Dhanyam,
Dhanyam,
fully successful.
fully successful.
Swasti ayanam,
Swasti ayanam,
all blissful.
all blissful.
Mahat,
Mahat,
all perfect.
all perfect.
Translation. This Srimad Bhagavatam
This Srimad Bhagavatam
is the literary incarnation of God.
is the literary incarnation of God,
And it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva,
and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva,
the incarnation of God.
the incarnation of God.
It is meant for the ultimate good of all people.
It is meant for the ultimate good of all people,
And it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect.
and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect.
Yes. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless sound representation of all Vedic knowledge and history. There are selected histories of great devotees who are in direct contact with the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna and is therefore non-different from him. So the answer to the question, there is no difference between Lord Krishna and the book Srimad Bhagavatam. So this book is considered to be the literary incarnation of the Lord. And the person who writes the Srimad Bhagavatam and all of the Vedas is also an incarnation of Lord Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam should be worshipped as respectfully as we worship the Lord. Therefore, in all of our households, whenever we bring the Srimad Bhagavatam into our house for the first time, it is recommended that we do a puja of Srimad Bhagavatam because it is equivalent to Lord Krishna having taken appearance in your house. Therefore, this book should be treated very nicely, very carefully, with all due respect and reverence. So, Srimad Bhagavatam should be worshipped as respectfully as we worship the Lord. Thereby, we can derive the ultimate blessings of the Lord through its careful and patient study. As God is all light, all bliss, and all perfection, so also is Srimad Bhagavatam. We can have all the transcendental light of the Supreme Brahman, Sri Krishna, from the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, provided it is received through the medium of the transparent spiritual master. Prabhupada has always used this beautiful analogy for a spiritual master. A spiritual master is like a postman. He receives the letter and he delivers it. He picks it up from point A and delivers it to point B. He does not open the letter, he does not amend the letter, he does not discard the letter, he does not damage the letter. He simply delivers it as it is. Therefore, a bona fide guru will always deliver the message of the Lord in its original intent and knowledge that is supposed to be received by the student. Right? The test of a genuine spiritual master is one who is able to transmit this knowledge to you exactly as how the Lord would have transmitted it to the first recipient of this knowledge and many other recipients of this knowledge. Lord Chaitanya's private secretary, Srila Swarupa Damodara Goswami, advised all intending visitors who came to see the Lord at Puri to make a study of the Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. So now you understand there are two meanings to the word Bhagavatam. There is the book Bhagavatam and then there is a person Bhagavatam. The same term used to describe the pastimes of the Lord and one who has understood the pastimes. Person Bhagavatam is the self-realized, bona fide spiritual master. And through him only can one understand the lessons of Bhagavatam in order to receive the desired result. So what is the reason we are spending many hours, in the morning, in the evening, every day of the week, Saturday, Sunday? There's no end for our classes. What is the purpose we are spending so much time hearing, reading the Bhagavad Gita, hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam? There must be a purpose, right? There has to be a result that we are aspiring for. One can derive from the study of the Bhagavatam all benefits that are possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. So imagine that the Srimad Bhagavatam is so powerful that its mere presence is equivalent to you being in the presence of Lord Krishna. Then what to speak of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, studying the Srimad Bhagavatam? How much more are we intimately connected with the Supreme Lord? It carries with it all the transcendental blessings of Lord Sri Krishna that we can expect from his personal contact. That means this book, Srimad Bhagavatam, is so powerful that the study, the sincere study of Srimad Bhagavatam under the guidance of person Bhagavatam can really purify you and prepare you to go back to the spiritual. So that means dharma must be taking residence in Srimad Bhagavatam. Even though the Lord had left back to the spiritual abode or wound up his pastimes, it becomes a prakat, as Prabhupada says. So there are prakat leelas of the Lord which is visible, and then when the Lord winds up his pastimes no longer become visible, it becomes a prakat. That means to the sixth question that the sages in Naimisharanya asked, the answer is, even though the Lord has left, there is no difference between the Lord and Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is why, just like Arjuna was put in a situation preparing him to receive the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, similarly, Parikshit Maharaj was also put into a situation so that he was ready to receive Srimad Bhagavatam. So everything happens for a particular reason and for a particular purpose. The Lord has his own ways of ensuring that dharma is always here. And in this case, for the people of Kali Yuga, dharma is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. So simply by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, absorbing the message and understanding it, we can also purify our lives. So that's the essence of that shloka. So which brings us to the next shloka, which is shloka number 41. Tadidam grahayam asa
Tadidam grahayam asa
sutam atmavatam varam
sutam atmavatam varam
sarvaveditaha sanam
sarvavediti asanam
saram saram samudhritam
saram saram samudhrutam
tat
tat
that
that
idam
idam
this
this
grahayam asa
grahayam asa
made to accept
made to accept
sutam
sutam
unto his son
unto his son
atmavatam
atmavatam
of the self-realized
of the self-realized
varam
varam
most respectful
most respectful
sarva
sarva
all
all
veda
Veda
Vedic literatures
Vedic literatures
books of knowledge
books of knowledge
itihasanam
itihasana
of all the histories
all the histories
saram
saram
cream
cream
saram
saram
cream
cream
samudhritam
samudhritam
taken out.
taken out.
Translation: Sri Vyasadeva
Sri Vyasadeva
delivered it to his son,
delivered it to his son,
who is the most respected among the self-realized.
who is the most respected among the self-realized.
After extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures
After extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures
and histories of the universe.
and histories of the universe.
So Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad, men with a poor fund of knowledge only accept the history of the world from the time of Buddha or since 600 BC. And prior to this period, all histories mentioned in the scriptures are calculated by them to be only imaginary stories. That is not a fact. All the stories mentioned in the Puranas and the Mahabharata, etc., are actual histories, not only of this planet, but also of millions of other planets within the universe. So, as you read the Bhagavatam, you will recognize that some of the pastimes don't even happen here. Some of the pastimes of the Lord happen in other planets, but it is described here. Sometimes the history of planets beyond this world appears to such men to be unbelievable. But they do not know that different planets are not equal in all respects, and therefore some of the historical facts derived from other planets do not correspond with the experience of this planet. For example, that Gajendra Moksha, where Gajendra fights with that crocodile, it is said that that fight went on, that tug of war went on for many millions of years. That did not happen here, that happened in a different planet. Considering the different situation of different planets and also time and circumstances, there is nothing wonderful in the stories of the Puranas, nor are they imaginary. So Prabhupada is saying the Puranas are not made up stories. They actually happened. We should always remember the maxim that one man's food is another man's poison. We should not therefore reject the stories and histories of the Puranas as imaginary. The great rishis like Vyasa had no business putting some imaginary stories in their literatures. Prabhupada is saying, why would a self realized soul waste their time concocting stories that never actually happened? That is not the mood of self realized souls. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, historical facts selected from the histories of different planets have been depicted. That means not all pastimes that you read in the Srimad Bhagavatam happened here in our universe or even in our planet. It is therefore accepted by all the spiritual authorities as the Mahapurana. The special significance of these histories is that they are all connected with the activities of the Lord in a different time and atmosphere. So, the one common thread in the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Lord is involved in all these pastimes. It is the Lord and the devotees, the Lord and his devotees, the Lord and his devotees. There's no pastime of the Lord that is complete without his devotees. Have you ever noticed that? There's no pastime of the Lord that is complete without his devotees. It is therefore accepted by all the spiritual authorities as the Mahapurana. The special significance of these histories is that they are all connected with the activities of the Lord in a different time and atmosphere. Srila Shukadev Goswami is the topmost personality of all the self realized souls, and he accepted this as the subject of studies from his father, Vyasadeva. Now, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami has not made his appearance yet. That will come in chapter 3. But Prabhupada is already referencing what is about to take place, which is that Shukadev Goswami received this knowledge from his father himself, Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva is the great authority and the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Being so important, he delivered the message first to his great son, Srila Shukadev Goswami. It is compared to the cream of the milk. If you boil the milk and the milk is nice, then you get a thick layer of cream. Vedic literature is like the milk ocean of knowledge. Cream or butter is the most palatable essence of milk, and so also is Srimad Bhagavatam, for it contains all palatable, instructive, and authentic versions of different activities of the Lord and his devotees. So essentially, Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic scriptures. There is no gain, however, in accepting the message of Bhagavatam from the unbelievers, atheists, and professional reciters who make a trade of Bhagavatam for the layman. Prabhupada very frequently comes down very hard on those so called reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam who do it for money. Bhagavatam is meant to be shared with everybody. It is not meant to be made into a business transaction. It was delivered to Srila Shukadev Goswami, and he had nothing to do with the Bhagavata business. He did not have to maintain family expenses by such trade. Srimad Bhagavatam should therefore be received from the representative of Shukadeva, who must be in the renounced order of life without family encumbrance. If you're a family person, then you may end up teaching scriptures for money. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying, it is better that you hear Srimad Bhagavatam from those who are renounced. Milk is undoubtedly very good and nourishing, but when it is touched by the mouth of a snake, it is no longer nourishing. Rather, it becomes a source of death, in the sense that this knowledge is so important and it is so precious. It should be heard from the lips of the right person, a bona fide acharya. Anybody else, Prabhupada says, it's like drinking milk that has been touched by the lips of a snake. That milk is no longer nourishing. It will be the cause of your death. Similarly, those who are not strictly in the Vaishnava discipline should not make a business of this Bhagavatam and become a cause of spiritual death for so many hearers. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the purpose of all the Vedas is to know Him, Lord Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is Lord Sri Krishna Himself in the form of recorded knowledge. So, Bhagavatam is all about the Lord recorded. Therefore, it is not different than the Lord. Therefore, it is the cream of all the Vedas, and it contains all historical facts of all times in relation with Sri Krishna. It is factually the essence of all histories. So, Sutta Goswami has said that the Bhagavatam is where Dharma has taken shelter, because the Bhagavatam is non-different than the Supreme. So the Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of the Lord. Srila Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Lord Krishna. And then Vyasadeva transmits this knowledge to his son, Shukadev Goswami, who will then speak it to Parikshit Maharaj. This brings us to shloka number 42. Satu shramshavayamasa
Satu samshravayamasa
Maharajam Parikshitam
Maharajam Parikshitam
Prayopavishtam Gangayam
Prayopavishtam Gangayam
Paritam Paramarshibhihi
Paritam Paramarshibhihi
Saha,
Saha,
the son of Vyasadeva,
the son of Vyasadeva,
two,
again
Samshravayam Asa,
Samshravayam Asa,
make them audible, Maharajam, unto the emperor, Parikshitam, of the name Parikshit, Praya Upavishtam, who sat until death without food or drink, Gangayam, on the bank of the Ganges, Paritam, being surrounded, Parama Rishibhi, by great sages. Translation: Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn, delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death
awaiting death,
without taking food or drink.
without taking food or drink.
All transcendental messages are received properly in the chain of disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called parampara. Unless, therefore, Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literatures are received through a parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Which means, whenever we study the scriptures, it should be within a bona fide parampara. What are the four bona fide paramparas as per Vaishnava philosophy? There are four Vaishnava paramparas: the Rudra Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya, the Brahma Sampradaya, and then the Sanat Kumara Sampradaya. So that means there has to be a clear lineage and connection between master disciple, then the disciple becomes the guru, he has his disciples, and so on and so forth. So in this case, Srimad Bhagavatam was transmitted by the Lord to Brahma. Then from Brahma to Narada, you will see that in the third chapter, when Brahma and Narada come. Actually, sorry, you will see that in the second canto, not in the first canto. Then Narada Muni comes to the rescue of Vyasadeva when he feels quite morose about, I've written compiled so many Vedas and scriptures, but I don't seem to be too pleased about it. Something is missing, something is missing. And so the Guru comes to let him know what is missing. What is missing is the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, to attract the Jivatmas back to him. So Narada Muni transmits and asks Vyasadeva, you write about the pastimes. That will transform not just you, but everybody else. So now Vyasadeva has transmitted the Bhagavatam to his own son, Shukadev Goswami. We all accept in our parampara that Shukadev Goswami is the personal parrot of Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world. So he is not an ordinary personality. And then the Lord arranged it such that Shukadev Goswami gets an opportunity to speak the Srimad Bhagavatam to King Parikshit. So Vyasadeva delivered the message to Shukadev Goswami. And from Shukadev Goswami, Suta Goswami received a message. Now, Shukadev Goswami is actually speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit. But it just so happened that Suta Goswami was in the audience. So he was also listening to so many verses. He memorized all of them, and now he's reciting the Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya. One should therefore receive the message of Bhagavatam from Suta Goswami or from his representative, and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Emperor Parikshit received the information of his death in time, and he at once left his kingdom and family and sat down on the bank of the Ganges to fast till death. All great sages, rishis, philosophers, mystics, etc., went there due to his imperial position. They offered many suggestions about his immediate duty, and at last it was settled that he would hear from Shukadev Goswami about Lord Krishna. Thus the Bhagavatam was spoken to him. Sripada Shankaracharya, who preached Mayavada philosophy and stressed the impersonal feature of the Absolute, also recommended that one must take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, for there is no hope of gain from debating. Indirectly, Sripada Shankaracharya admitted that when he had preached in the flowery grammatical interpretations of the Vedanta Sutra, cannot help one at the time of death. So your grammar, your logic, your proficiency in the Vedic scriptures is not going to help you at the time of death. What is going to help you at the time of death? That you're able to remember the Lord, you're able to chant his names when the soul is exiting the body. This is actually what's going to help you at the time. Otherwise, just spending many, many years of studying grammar, logic, we're talking about Vedas and scriptures here, it's of no use at the time of death. At the crucial hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda. This is the recommendation of all great transcendentalists. Shukadeva Goswami had long ago stated the same truth, that at the end one must remember Narayana. Narayana Ante Smriti. That is the essence of all spiritual activities. Meaning, the whole purpose why we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, why we read the Bhagavad Gita, why we study the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam is so that we can remember Narayana or Govinda at the time that we die. That is actually the essence of all spiritual activities. So every day you're practicing to remember Krishna at the time of death. Your death is your final exam. The problem is this final exam comes unannounced. It's a surprise exam for you. So how can you prepare for a surprise exam because it comes unannounced? The best way to prepare is from the time of birth you have to be listening to Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, so that it is ingrained in you such that at the time of death you can actually remember. So our entire life's purpose is to remember the Lord every day. That's our purpose. Everything else Prabhupada says that we do in between is just, just to maintain your body. That's it. In pursuance of this eternal truth, Srimad Bhagavatam was heard by Emperor Parikshit, and it was recited by the able Shukadeva Goswami, and both the speaker and the receiver of the messages of Bhagavatam were duly delivered by the same medium. So the person speaking Srimad Bhagavatam got liberated. The person hearing Srimad Bhagavatam got liberated. Of course, Shukadev Goswami is anyway a liberated soul. He's not an ordinary person. But both the speaker and the receiver are getting benefited. So if we listen sincerely, we can also go back to the spiritual world. We don't have to stay here. So we have to practice though. That's what is important. That brings us to shloka number 43. Krishne Swadhamopagate
कृष्णे स्वधामोपगते
Dharmajnanadibhis saha
धर्मज्ञानादिभिः सह
Kalau nashtadrisham esha
कलौ नष्टदृशाम् एष
Puranarko dhunoditaha
पुराणार्को धुनोदितः
Krishne.
कृष्णे
In Krishna's
in Krishna's
Swadhama,
Swadhama,
own abode.
own abode,
Upagate,
Upagate,
having returned.
having returned,
Dharma,
Dharma,
religion.
religion,
Jnana,
Jnana,
knowledge.
knowledge,
Adhibihi,
Adibihi,
combined together.
combined together,
Saha,
Saha,
along with.
along with
Kalau,
Kalau,
in the Kali Yuga.
in the Kali Yuga,
Nashtadrisham,
Nashtadrisham,
of persons who have lost their sight.
of persons who have lost their sight.
Eshaha,
Yeshaha,
all these.
all these,
Purana Arkaha,
Purana Arkaha,
the Purana which is brilliant like the sun.
the Purana which is brilliant like the sun.
Adhuna,
Adhuna,
just now.
just now.
Uditaha,
Uditaha,
has arisen.
has arisen.
Translation. This Bhagavata Purana
This Bhagavata Purana
is as brilliant as the sun.
is as brilliant as the sun.
And it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna.
And it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna
To his own abode,
to his own abode,
accompanied by religion,
accompanied by religion,
knowledge,
knowledge,
etc.
etc.
Persons who have lost their vision
Persons who have lost their vision
due to the dense darkness of ignorance,
due to the dense darkness of ignorance,
in the age of Kali,
in the age of Kali,
shall get light from this Purana.
shall get light from this Purana.
Perfect. Lord Shri Krishna has his eternal Dhamma or abode, where he eternally enjoys himself with his eternal associates and paraphernalia. And his eternal abode is a manifestation of his internal energy, whereas the material world is a manifestation of his external energy. So the difference between Yoga Maya and Mahamaya is being explained by Srila Prabhupada in this one sentence. Yoga Maya makes all the arrangements for the Lord and his pastimes in all of the spiritual planets. Mahamaya makes arrangements for the Jivatmas to perform their mundane activities in this material cosmos. When he descends to the material world, he displays himself with all paraphernalia in his internal potency, which is called Atmamaya, the same words that are used in Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atmamaya. His form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc. are not therefore creations of matter. It's very important to understand. When the Lord enters the material universe, he does not get contaminated. So we cannot say that the Lord has taken birth. You will notice that in our parampara, we never use the word birth. Birth and death is for Jivatmas. The Lord appears and disappears, because there is no birth or death for when the Supreme Lord comes to perform his pastimes. He comes of his own free will. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to re-establish codes of religion which are directly enacted by him. Except for God, no one can establish the principles of religion. Either he or a suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. Now, one of the typical questions that are asked is, but even religion and religious practices do not stay pure, they do not stay constant. You know, the details may differ from generation to generation and from acharya to acharya. So, why is that acceptable? Because we've just said that the spiritual master must convey the message of the Lord exactly as it is, must not contaminate it, must not dilute it, etc. So, how do you understand? Because just maybe 50, 60 years ago, when Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master was here on this planet, he instructed his disciples to chant 64 rounds a day. Then here comes our dear Srila Prabhupada, and straight from 64 dropped to 16. So, can we challenge Srila Prabhupada and say he's diluting? No. How do you understand this? The principles of religion stay the same. The practice of religion may vary as per time, place, and circumstance. What is the principle of religion? The principle of religion is to get you to love and serve the Lord. Now, different acharyas may get you to love and serve the Lord in different ways with different instructions. But the principle stays the same. The details may vary. So an acharya will come and change certain practices. That does not mean that they're diluting it. They are accommodating for changes of time, place, and circumstance. Exactly as Prabhupada, when he landed in the United States, he noticed that people were leaving to go work at 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning in cars, travel for a long distance, come back home late evening. And he realized if they are working so hard for a living, where will they have time to chant 64 hours? Therefore, Prabhupada dropped it from 64 to 60. So here, no one can establish the principles of religion except for the Supreme Lord. Either he or a suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. Real religion means to know God, our relationship with him, and our duties in relation with him, and to know ultimately our destination after leaving this material world. So, real religion means you know that you're Jivatma, you know that you have a supreme master, Bhagavan, you know that you have a relationship with him, and because you know you have a relationship with him, you also have a duty towards the Supreme Lord. And you also know that this is not your permanent residence. This is just like a hotel out of which you will check out one of these days. The conditioned souls who are entrapped by the material energy hardly know all these principles of life. Most of them are like animals, engaged in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. They are mostly engaged in sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, or salvation. They are still more blind in the present age of quarrel or Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, the population is just a royal edition of the animals. So, in other words, Prabhupada says, we are all actually sophisticated animals. We just do things a little better than the animals in those four categories. They have nothing to do with spiritual knowledge or godly religious life. They are so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the jurisdiction of the subtle mind, intelligence, or ego, but they are very much proud of their advancement in knowledge, science, and material prosperity. They can risk their lives to become a dog or a hog just after leaving the present body, for they have completely lost sight of the ultimate aim of life. So Prabhupada is warning us that if we don't reorient ourselves to the ultimate purpose of life, then we risk getting the body of a dog or a hog in our next life. That's the risk that we are taking. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga, and he returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Sri Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the messages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And thus, both the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam are like torchbearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. So Prabhupada has given us an instruction here. He's telling us these two books we should study. And how is that? Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum of life, Lord Sri Krishna personified. So Prabhupada would always say that Bhagavad Gita is like getting your secondary certificate in school. After you pass your +2 by studying the Bhagavad Gita, then you can come to college and study Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum of life, Sri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Srimad Bhagavatam can see also Lord Sri Krishna in person. They are identical. So Prabhupada is simply reiterating what has already been stated in the Sloka by Suta Goswami, that there is no difference between Lord Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam. Which brings us to the very last Sloka of the third chapter of the first canto. Shloka number 44. Tatra kirtayato vipra
तत्र कीर्तयतो विप्रा
विप्रर्षेर्भूरि तेजसः
विप्रर्षेर्भूरि तेजसः
अहं चाध्यगमं तत्र
अहं चाद्यगमं तत्र
निविष्टस्तद् अनुग्रहात्
निविष्टस्तद् अनुग्रहात्
सोऽहं वः श्रावयिष्यामि
सोऽहं वः श्रावयिष्यामि
यथाधीतं यथामति
यथाधीतं यथामति
तत्र
तत्र
there
देर्
कीर्तयतः
कीर्तयतः
while reciting
while reciting
vipraha
विप्राः
o brahmanas
O brahmanas
viprarishehe
विप्रऋषेः
from the great brahmana rishi
from the great Brahmana Rishi
bhuri
Bhuri
greatly
greatly
tejasah
Tejasaha
powerful
powerful
aham
Aham
I
I
cha
Cha
also
also
adhyagamam
Adhyagamam
could understand
could understand
tatra
Tatra
in that meeting
in that meeting
nivishtaha
Nivishtaha
being perfectly attentive
being perfectly attentive
tad anugrahat
Tat anugrahat
by his mercy
by his mercy
saha
Saha
that very thing
that very thing
aham
Aham
I
I
vaha
Vaha
unto you
unto you
shravayishyami
Shrava Ishyami
shall let you hear
shall let you hear
yatha adhitam yathamati
Yatha Yatha Adhitam Yatha Mati
as far as my realization.
as far as my realization.
Translation. O learned brahmanas,
O learned Brahmanas,
when Shukadeva Goswami
when Shukadev Goswami
recited Bhagavatam there
recited Bhagavatam there
in the presence of Emperor Parikshit,
in the presence of Emperor Parikshit,
I heard him with rapt attention,
I heard him with rapt attention,
and thus by his mercy,
and thus by his mercy,
I learned the Bhagavatam
I learnt the Bhagavatam
from that great and powerful sage.
from that great and powerful sage.
Now I shall try to make you hear
Now I shall try to make you hear
the very same thing
the very same thing
as I learned it from him
as I learned it from him,
and as I have realized it.
and as I have realized it.
Yes, so in the purport of this last shloka, Prabhupada writes, one can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Sri Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized great soul like Shukadeva Goswami. One cannot, however, learn Bhagavatam from a bogus hired reciter whose aim of life is to earn some money out of such recitation and employ the earning in sex indulgence. No one can learn Srimad Bhagavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. Period. Prabhupada has said we cannot listen to Srimad Bhagavatam from anyone who is still engaged in sexual activity, even if it is within a marriage. That is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Nor can one learn Bhagavatam from one who interprets the text by his mundane scholarship. One has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative of Shikadev Goswami and no one else, if one at all wants to see Lord Krishna in the pages. So if the object for you is to see Krishna, then you have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from person Bhagavatam. That is the process and there is no alternative. Suta Goswami is a bona fide representative of Shukadeva Goswami because he wants to present the message which he received from the great learned Brahmana, Shukadeva Goswami, presented Bhagavatam as he heard it from his great father. And so also Suta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he heard it from Shukadeva Goswami. Simple hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. Sometimes we devotees get into the habit of just hearing and hearing and hearing and hearing. We don't spend time reflecting. And sometimes we may not spend time applying what we learned. But we enjoy hearing. Prabhupada saying that is not sufficient. Hearing is also a kind of an enjoyment. Yes, definitely by hearing, your consciousness is getting purified, no doubt about it. But imagine if you're hearing attentively with the goal of making spiritual progress. The word Nivishtha means that Suta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through his ears. He was so absorbed for 7 days. He heard the Bhagavatam, he memorized it in one shot, and here he is narrating it or telling the sages, now I'm getting ready to narrate it to you. But he is not claiming any glories for himself. In the shloka, the way he speaks, you can recognize a self-realized soul by the way he speaks. He says, it is by the mercy of Shukadev Goswami and all the other rishis that were gathered there, somehow or the other, I am able to recollect everything. So he was drinking Bhagavatam, which is called the Rasamalayam, through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. That means a self-realized soul who's speaking Srimad Bhagavatam can make you experience Lord Krishna. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. How can you pay attention if your mind is not pure? And the secret is to hear more and chant. No one can be pure in mind who's not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who's not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. So everything Prabhupada has laid out in such a beautiful way that everything is interconnected. If your activities are not pure, how can your mind be pure? How can your anything else be pure? So no one can give rapt attention who's not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who's not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who's not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and meeting. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Sri Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Next week, in chapter 4, Narada Muni will appear. So join us next Sunday again so that we can also hear, maybe with rapt attention, maybe for about an hour. We are not ready to hear for 7 days continuously without food or water. But at least for an hour once a week we can hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So join us next Sunday. Thank you very much. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki